Good morning. Resurrection. Now, generally, this term actually applies to literally come back from the dead, and we are going to discuss that, but I thought it was an opportunity to be able to share, as I put in the announcement, the transmigration of the soul, the process that a soul goes through to inhabit a physical form, which is miraculous. When Brandon, my son, was born in 1993, he had something of a birthmark. And I say something because it went away. But when he was born, he had this very noticeable red discoloration on his forehead. Went from his brow to between his eyes. It was just a discoloration. And on some days it was a little bit more prominent, other days it was barely there. And as he got older, it went away. And I loved it. I thought this was when his soul blazed into his body. It was through the fontanelle and into his crown chakra. I thought it was fascinating. He doesn't have it anymore. And while his mother was pregnant, as excited as I was, I began to study the birth process. I had found this amazing book. I don't remember what it was called. Amazing book of these color photos that showed the embryonic stage from inception to birth. And it was fascinating. And it would explain all these step-by-step stages that the birth process went through, the incarnation process went through. And I was blown away that what seemed like millions of events had to occur perfectly synchronized together. And if one thing was off, it wouldn't happen. Everything had to be perfect. Thousands of events. And again, if one thing goes wrong, then the whole thing is sabotaged. They all have to line up perfectly, and it happens every day. And I had such a good time studying this as his mother was pregnant. And of course, I was already very aware and very well much of a scholar within the incarnation of the soul, the transmigration of the soul, chakras, all that. I was very well on my way into those fields of study, had been for some time. Matter of fact, it was just before he was born by 6-7 months is when I had my Kundalini event. And so I was already studying feverishly this whole process, studying Kundalini and the chakras. I already had been familiar with some of that, but not to the point where I was. When my Kundalini event happened, I was immersed in it. I just could not get enough. Want to know everything I possibly could about the subtle body, the process, etc. I studied and I learned a lot of stuff. I have throughout my life. So I think a good way to do that is go ahead and launch into a section of the book and share that. Trying to figure out where to start, and I could not resist this first line here. God doesn't give 2 cents of thought to what religion you come to him through. He is simply waiting for you to let your damn guard down and come to him with love and surrender so he can grace you. This is the soul's journey, to have union with the Godhead, to become divinized. What did the Buddha ask from the cosmic hot dog vendor? Make me one with everything. I love that joke. Since the concepts of karma and reincarnation originate with the Sanskrit text, it seems appropriate to look to them to understand them. So to summarize the concept of infinite and eternal life as taught by the yogic texts, excuse me, which are the sutras, the darshans. You have no beginning and no end. You have always existed and always will in one form or another. The first law of thermodynamics is that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can merely change form. Therefore, energy is eternal. And since your soul is a divine energy, that makes you eternal. Animal, plant, or person, your energy has changed form countless times since eternity. This means your lives are infinite. Not a lot, not many, but absolutely infinite. Eternal and infinite are divine concepts beyond our stupid human conception. The force that binds us to the material phenomena, life after life, is known as karma, the law of cause and effect. Everything we do, say, and think is a cause destined to receive a proportionate effect. As long as we have effects to realize, we will continue to incarnate to experience them. We cause actions to attain happiness, which causes effects. Desiring happiness is an eternal condition. So we are perpetually bound to the material phenomena as we try to attain perfect happiness, aka original sin. The birthing experience eliminates the prior life memory as well as the in-between insights we gain while there. To transcend from the gross material phenomena, you must become realized, i.e. enlightened, i.e. divinized, transformed from humanness to divinity. Being divinized makes you one with God. It does not make you God. It makes you immune to the consequence of karma, and you become all-knowing, all-loving, and all-right. Once liberated, /realized, /enlightened, /divinized, you will cease being a part of the material phenomena and exist in a purely spiritual context with no more material sheaths. Until you become realized, you will continue to incarnate within the material phenomena as you've done since eternity. How it works. Reincarnation 101. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Neither. This is a paradox called a causality dilemma. To explain the science and process of reincarnation, we'll begin with the chicken, in this case, death. When your body dies, it begins to decay and decompose, and the life force departs from it. That sums up death, not too complicated. Before our death, the spiritual government has already arranged the majority of our next life circumstances, family, country of birth, status, looks, health, etc. But since we were creating consequence up to the moment we died, finishing touches need to be added. And this is what and this is what is taking place on Earth while we were within the portal. The portal is a bit like a waiting room where you wait for your reassignment. Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. When Beetlejuice was in the waiting room, that kind of reference. The books of the dead and Abrahamic religious scriptures both speak of the approximately 40 to 49 days of the soul remains without a body before it moves on. So Abrahamic religions cover that too. The fetal body, location, date, time, all the mystical details, the spiritual agencies used to manifest your specific circumstances are set. Your sun and moon sign, the vibrational frequency of your name, the astrology, numerology, and other frequencies that have been tweaked and prepped and ready for your arrival. My resurrection, my actual birthday, was an administrative protocol. It is an overwhelming and unfathomable amount of miraculous effort to put in to synchronize your specific details with every other detail of infinite cosmos and kept in perfect balance. Big bang singularities with infinite subatomic particles unfolding in the universe are nothing compared to the soul's journey back into matter to take birth. And then it's time to go. Your spirit is dispatched to your new form. And if it is human form, it travels through space and enters through the top of the skull. The soft spot on a baby's skull, the fontanelle, is where the skull bones don't ossify till the age of 2. This anatomical feature is to provide an open entrance for the soul to enter the now prepared body. Our energy alone, with the mind energy, gets condensed to squeeze into a mature body again. You think birthing is a violent and traumatic experience? Ha! Try squeezing an eternal and primordial energy of spirit and consciousness into a little zygote. The birthing experience is too traumatic to retain anything afterward, causing our prior lifetime and awareness within the womb to be forgotten. Once we emerge in, let me elaborate on that for a moment. That means that while you're within the womb, you have some consciousness, and you do know who you are, an eternal soul, and you have memory of your past life. You never know just where you were. You're not completely dormant. You're very aware. The birthing process itself, squeezing through the birth canal, is what caused you to forget. It's so traumatic. It's a severe PTSD kind of thing. Within the womb, cause it to be forgotten. Once we emerge into the loud, scary world, we're starting from scratch. The NDE is a gentler crossover. So many retain what they experienced during the in-between stage. As suggested earlier, my retention of the NDE and portal were largely due to prior conscious work. While my practical memory was virtually deleted from both, the shock of soul reentry combined with DAR trauma. This tremendous power and energy of spirit descends into matter and goes directly to the region of the heart. So it goes through the fontanelle and into the region of the heart. Your physical body is constructed upon a framework of subtle energy body. Your subtle body is a collection of energy receivers called chakras in Sanskrit. Once your soul makes contact with the heart center in a flash, your spirit divides into 2 currents. One travels up, the other travels down. The current splitting at the heart center enlivens the lower energy receivers, one in the solar plexus, one in the pelvic area, and one at the end of the tailbone, the coccyx. The current traveling up activates the energy receiver in the throat, which flows up and activates the one in the brow between the eyes, which then enlivens the crown center at the top of the skull. Now, 7 energy centers making up the subtle body energy are enlivened. The downward current comes to rest in the coccyx, and whatever residual energy remaining within it becomes dormant. The residual energy that goes dormant may be subtle and tiny, but its power is massive. The nuclei of atoms are tiny too, but their energy power can provide energy to an entire city or destroy one. The upward current comes to rest just below the crown at the head in the pineal gland, deep within the brain, referred to as the seat of the soul by ancient Greeks. This is referred to as the third eye or ajna chakra. All chakras are now activated. And then the physical form is now animated tissue. It's alive. The soul energy is at rest in the heart center with upward and downward currents flowing above and below. The soul's entry to physical matter is so shocking and the remaining memory and insights from prior life in the portal are entirely compromised. Bright lights, men in masks, bloody umbilical cords, noise and chaos. That's what the world is to an emerging fetus. This is no accident. It is a feature of the process since memory of prior life and the portal is overwhelming and can cause insanity. Imagine you never slept. All your days were ongoing, never pausing stream of events. You go crazy. You need a rest, a pause, a respite to regroup and start fresh. If we retained all our lifetimes and ever going conscious, we'd lose it. While a fetus develops within the womb, the spirit is housed within, and the mind is subtly active and aware. Within the womb, we contemplate the sum total of experience of our prior life and the portal. Yet we are somewhat still as dormant as we were within the portal. We now have a body, but much like within the portal, we cannot really move or interact with our space, but we are aware. Our energy body is activated. Our physical body is forming within the womb. Our causal, mental body is awake and coexisting in cosmic and physical space. You may not remember it, but you were quite aware while in mom's womb and becoming a bit anxious to get out of such a cramped space. Finally, it's time to be released from the womb and enter the fully physical realm. It's time to be born. Our storehouse of knowledge and experience is no longer accessible to our conscious material minds. We are forced to start over with no recollection of how to talk, walk, or contemplate. Our operating system has been reset. Our internal hard drive has been wiped clean. There are always shadow ghost traces of the original files, but they are buried deep and hard to retrieve. When my mind plus spirit re-entered my physical form after my death event, my hard drive was deleted. I experienced the reincarnation process as I returned from 9 days within the portal to my existing adult body and brain instead of into a new fetus. That's a mouthful. Catch my breath here. I have a tendency to read a little fast. This is just my own little kind of thing. Like I just, I'm not trying to rush through it. It's that I have my own self-consciousness. I don't know how much people want to know or hear, so I kind of rush through it a little bit. I have a tendency to do that. Anyway, I think that is well written, well said. I think it's fascinating, and it does a pretty good job of condensing the entire process down. And again, what we're discussing here is the transmigration. Within a couple of pages, I was able to detail pretty accurately this intense, complicated process the soul goes through to travel and journey from within the portal to within physical form. This is detailed, as I mentioned as it began, and explained within the Yoga Darshans and the Shastras. As I've often pointed out, the beauty about the Sanatana Dharma scriptures, I don't care for that term, scriptures makes it sound too, there are scriptures, but the Vedas, Veda means knowledge. And pretty much everything you want to know about existence is in there, not just the paranormal metaphysical content that we would assume would be there, but explains it in detail, scientifically, logically. Again, Vedas means knowledge. It doesn't rely on some kind of magical belief or understanding or faith. It teaches you systematically, like a textbook, how it functions, how it works, how karma, how sanskars work, how the birthing process, transmigration of the soul. And again, another thing that I just quoted there from my own book, explaining this process, the soul's entry into physical form. I'm not making this up. These aren't my theories. You could say, regurgitating from the Vedas, the Shastras, and the Upanishads. I want to get it right. Now, there are a couple little details there that are not included because I couldn't overwhelm. It's already a 500-page book, for God's sakes. So that, and I came across this surprisingly, relatively recently, that there is another angle to add to this. As I'm doing many readings within the portal readings, that I use numerology, tarot, astrology, and also I Ching and Kabbalah's Tree of Life, and the 10 Sephiroth and the 22 branches on the Tree of Life. That I had a couple readings recently that there was a couple of correspondences there for the letter Kof, Qoph in Hebrew. I'm not going to go into a big explanation of Kabbalah and Tree of Life and the Hebrew language and all that, but it's an integrated system. The Hebrew letters are parts of the path. They're 22 letters. They all have concepts. They're not just letters like we have. They're words. They're entire concepts and thoughts that are very intense and beautiful and profound. And so no matter which part of it you study, you gain a lot of knowledge and insight. Anyway, so I had a couple of readings recently, coincidentally, that both had, 2 or 3 of them in a row, had correspondence with the letter Kof, which is down towards the bottom of the tree. And I had to give that some thought and meditate on and do some research on it, be able to explain in this reading what it was pertaining to in this particular category of their reading. And Kof, the Hebrew letter, again, Qoph, you could say it is K. That's the Hebrew letter of it. And Kof means back of head. And I was fascinated by that. So I started looking into it. I was familiar, but not enough in detail. And this is an opportunity for me. And as I paralleled and combined my study for this one particular reading, a couple of particular readings, I went deeper, and I'm always looking for the parallels, the connections between Sanatan Dharma, especially with Sanatan Dharma and Hebrew and Sanskrit and Hebrew. They're so connected. I mean, this is as spirituality migrated from the subcontinent in the East into what was then Western Asia, what would become Middle East to us, and Persia. As it migrated, the first stop and the first prolification of it was within the Persia, and it became Judaism. And so the parallels and interconnections between Sanskrit and Hebrew, between Judaism and Sanatan Dharma. I mean, the Tree of Life is Kundalini Yoga. It shows it. It's not just a coincidence or parallel. It is the same system, and it's more. Anyway, so Kof being back of head, what I found, let me kind of shorten that up a little bit, is that as I'm doing this, as I just explained, when the soul enters the body, here's what truly happens. As I mentioned, the soul enters through the fontanelle, through the crown chakra. So there's already a crown chakra. Your energy body is part of the material phenomena. Your physical body is part of the material phenomena. And these are formed before your soul enters. They're beginning to form prior to your soul entry. Now, as I mentioned, you have these 3 levels: soul, body, energy body, and causal body. And your causal body is your consciousness. Your physical and energy body are forming together. They're part of the material phenomena. They're just matter. They have no mind. They have no spirit. They're just matter. Your causal body is also part of the material phenomena, but it's also separate. It is your capacity and your function for thinking and reasoning. It is your emotional. Everything that you can think and feel is your causal body. It is attached to your soul. Your soul is a perfect and divine energy source. It is your essence. It is not one with the mind. Your mind is not one with the soul. If your mind can become one with the soul, then you become realized, self-realized, soul-realized, etc. And that's what enlightenment is. So again, the point is that when it's time to be dispatched from within the portal, from the ethereal realm, the bardo, to take life in the material realm, physical realm, matter. Again, your physical body and your chakra body, energy body, are all beginning to be formed from inception. They're beginning to take shape. There's no consciousness there. There's no soul there yet. It doesn't happen in an instant. It trickles in. Your consciousness, your chitta, causal body, actually does, as I mentioned in the text there, ascend, descend, and enter through the fontanelle, to the top of the head, to the crown chakra, sahasrara. But your soul actually enters through the back of the head. And that was kind of new to me. Again, as I delved into this, curiosity with the letter Kof, where it was on the tree in this reading, led me to this deeper layer, caused me to go research a little bit more into the Sanatan Dharma, the Vedas and Upanishads, and find that indeed, everything that's described is correct. The process of incarnation is your being travels from the spiritual realm to the material realm, to the top of the skull, etc. But technically, the soul enters through the back of the head. Your chitta body, consciousness, enters through the top. So basically, to try to make this love more fundamental. Again, your physical and energy body are forming from inception. The Akashic agents, spiritual realm, spiritual government administrators, etc., are setting up all your parameters. Your family of birth, your country of birth, your karmas, all this stuff has to be arranged and laid out there and put all together with all the other billions of souls on the planet and all the entire infinite cosmos. Pretty complicated stuff. And again, as your soul and chitta conscious body are attached to one another, they enter last, around the 49th day after conception. So this is why, as I pointed out in prior talks, you will see from Muhammad to the Buddha to Christ's time in the wilderness, 49 days. All of them. Muhammad's time in the cave, Christ's time in the wilderness, Buddha's time under the Bodhi tree, 49 days. They're demonstrating to us. This isn't made up. They're demonstrating with this is what saints and avatars do. They don't have to go by the rules. They go by these so-called rules and formula so that we can connect to them. They don't have to. We have to. We're stuck by the rules. 49 days, reincarnation, etc. That's general. So again, we see this repeated again and again. And indeed, even in our physical sciences, in natal understanding and medical knowledge, there are dramatic shifts around the 49th day after conception of embryonic development. The long and short of it is, there is tons and tons of evidence that indeed, right around the 49th day is when the chitta body, causal body, and the soul enter into the physical body. A little contradiction here. It can happen in an instant. Boom. Chitta and soul boom, just in the physical realm. Typically, it kind of trickles in. It's not the 49th day and then boom, it just happens. Typically. So it can be abrupt. Again, we're not talking about rules that we all know of. It can fluctuate. Generally, it kind of trickles in a little bit slowly. Could be a couple days, could be a couple weeks, could be a couple months. We're not going to go into that aspect of it too much. There's many reasons that, again, it's going to fluctuate. The physical body and the energy body, the chakras, again, they exist, but they're not enlivened in a similar way that a rock or a mineral is. They're not alive. They are energy. They do have living, growing capacity, but again, your body's just matter. Technically, your energy body is also just matter. It's just raw energy. It has no conscious, has no spirit. When the chitta body and the soul essence, jiva, atman, enter into the physical body, this is when the energy centers and the physical body come alive. The energy centers, your chakras, are there. They're spinning. They have energy in them, but they're not activated. So again, we've got a little bit of a potential confusion here. Here I am saying that they're alive and they have energy, and yet they're not quite activated. Again, we see paradoxes that don't exist within the material realm that exist within the spiritual and divine realm. In the material realm, everything is either or, black and white, this or that. In the spiritual realm, we can have both this and that, and everything lies within the and. So again, it is once the chitta and jiva energy enters within the physical form is when they become enlivened and activated. So they are there, but they're not activated. So once it enters, then they become active. Yeah, hold on one second. Now we have a complete system. And again, let's jump to the end there. As we said, the chicken or the egg. And I said, well, let's go with the chicken, which would be death in this example. And the egg is the living process. When it's time to die, what happens? Well, our soul and our chitta, our consciousness, our soul and chitta depart. They leave the body, and the physical and energy body are both dormant, just tissue, and the energy goes away. There's nothing enlivening them. The soul, you could say, is kind of like your battery pack, kind of like your charging system. No soul, your battery is dead. It's just your phone is when your phone is in charge, your battery will go dead in the device. Then it's just a physical thing. It has there's no smartness to it, right? So whilst the soul and chitta, the chitta and jiva, soul and conscious body, causal body, are within the physical frame, then the physical frame is alive. It isn't at the time of death that when the body dies, then the soul leaves. No, the soul leaves, and that's why the body dies. They pretty much simultaneous, but again, it can vary. Lori, you had a question?
Actually, what you're describing is placentation of the fetus into the uterus. And what I'm just reading, what you're talking about is the fetal period of embryonic development starts at about day 49 or week 7. Isn't that interesting? And this is back from 1971, medical embryology.
Right. And that's kind of where I began, as I was reading a book like that when my son was, before he was born. And yes, indeed. So again, I couldn't figure out what it was, but you just pointed out that indeed there are many parallels. It's not just when you look for them. As you see, there are dramatic shifts in embryonic development around the 49th and around, again, not dead on at midnight, around that day. There are variables, but again, the general rule is consistent. Indeed, not every soul is going to reincarnate on the 49th day. Generally, that's the case. And again, as it inhabits. So, it's a fascinating process. Now, let's bring it back a little bit to the resurrection theme. What we've been talking about kind of really is about incarnation, not resurrection. They're different. I titled that chapter within the book Resurrection because I was dead and I was coming to life. Technically, I'm not incarnating. I'm simply resurrecting. I am the same person, same body. And here's the anomaly. Whilst most, nearly all near-death experiences are not a reincarnation process, it is a pure and simple resurrection. They die, their chitta and jiva, soul and conscious body, do not leave. They have a separation. People have the out-of-body experience. And indeed, that's what this out-of-body experience is, when your chitta, your causal body, is departing or separating from the physical realm. But it's still tethered. It doesn't go very far, which is why most of the NDErs will report looking at the accident scene or the tragic scene or whatever it may be and being able to report on that. And then they go back into their body. It's not complete separation. Again, you could say like an umbilical cord, they're still attached to their physical form. Mine was breaking rules for a myriad of reasons, which we won't go too much into. I'm not a divine soul. I can't explain perfectly. I have my theories. As mentioned, because of my prior work in my spirituality, Kundalini yoga, all the things that I've done, I had different circumstances. And also the severity of my accident, etc. So indeed, when I departed from my body, I did not have the out-of-body experience. I didn't hover around, look at the accident scene. As I said right in the beginning of the book, I bolted the fuck out of there. I was like, oh, this is shit. I don't need to be here for this. This is terrible. Don't need to see it, don't want to see it. It's all bad. So I bolted. I catapulted, teleported instantly to the other side. I did not hover around. Why in the mechanics, I can't explain very well. But I can tell you from personal experience, before, during, ever after, and ever since, that there was no connection between where I was within the portal on the other side and my physical body. There was complete and total separation. I understand the contradiction. I understand that the soul is the energy pack that enlivens the body and chakras. And yet if my soul wasn't there, then how can my body be going on? Because for 9 days, it was heart beating. I was in a coma. All I can tell you is this. Machines were keeping my body alive. I don't have it up on the screen now, but there's that picture of me with respirators on my face and scars all over and blood and all kinds of shit. I'm in the hospital. And indeed, I'm hooked up to machines. My body is just a physical mass, and it's just being powered by machines. It has no life energy within it. My energy body, again, same thing. It is present within my physical frame. It has to be. Those things are totally interconnected. They cannot be separated. The physical frame is built upon the energy body. It being physical matter only, again, similar to the embryonic stage, prior to chitta and jiva entry, these things can operate on a physical level. And I'm telling you from my experience that my chitta and my jiva was nowhere connected. I was not there. I catapulted an instant, was on the other side completely, and was completely aware there. I wasn't aware while I was within the portal on the other side what was going on Earth. I had a fundamental vague perception, I think, but it wasn't relevant to me, and I wasn't connected, and I wasn't witnessing it or watching it. That was part of the physical realm, and I was in a spiritual realm. I wasn't even there, and I had no desire to be. So in the general or technical sense, I resurrected. I died, and then I lived on. My body continued. My body died for a moment, and then they put on machines and kept it going. And again, the anomaly is this, that while and I would say that in this context, what I'm trying to relate to you is that the NDE phenomena is more of a resurrection. You never truly separate from your body. There is a tethered connection. Reincarnation is when you completely die, your soul, your jiva and chitta, your causal and soul body completely depart. Your body dies, decays, whatever, it's done. You don't re-inhabit it. That just becomes physical mass, an empty shell. And when it's time to reincarnate, you go through this process that we described with the soul re-entering into a new form, to the fontanelle, etc. So there is a difference between resurrection and reincarnation. What I shared with you was the chapter called Reincarnation, which is like chapter 9 in the book. Resurrection, which is what this class was basically framed off of in the email text, was chapter 2, Resurrection. So I'm blending the two together. Having some fun with it. Throughout my career as a spiritualist, mystic, researcher, I don't know, theologue, a science hobbyist, whatever you want to call me, I don't know, big-headed know-it-all. That's what a lot of people refer to me as, big-headed know-it-all. I think that fits just fine. And that's just it. I'm a knowledge junkie. I'm a spiritual junkie and a knowledge junkie. I just can't get enough of it. I'm fascinated, truly fascinated. I can ignore the entire world around me if I'm involved with something that's fascinating, like the birthing process, the soul transmigration, these things done in a scientific, methodical, logical way to explain to me in a sensible manner. Again, not some magical, ethereal, Old Testament, Bible kind of stuff that's really just kind of out there. The Eastern texts don't do that. They give it to you in detail and in order. And I'm blown away by it. And I often ask myself, with my fixation for these things, am I wasting my time? I have a lot of trivia knowledge as well. To this day, I can probably sing along with, I don't even know, countless songs. I don't think there's one song by the Grateful Dead that I can't literally sing the words to along with the song. And there's hundreds of them. And that's just one band. I can't write them down on my own, but once the song plays, I can sing along with them the entire time. I can watch movies. And as I watch movies, TVs, commercials, I don't care what it is, I automatically can identify an actor or someone and know where they were, what they were in before, and I don't know how or why I do this, and it's not something I'm trying to do. That's the trivia aspect. And I recognize that as very virtual waste of time. Trivial knowledge is just that. It's trivial. Useless. It's just a byproduct of a hardworking intellectual mind, I think. And so I ask myself often, and I encourage you to do the same, when you're getting into any type of field of study or knowledge or research, is this significant? What's the value of this? I've got to be careful because as a knowledge junkie, especially spiritual knowledge, as a junkie, I can easily get so fascinated with something that I can go down the rabbit hole and just be gone for a long time and then not know for quite a while that really there was no value to that. What am I doing it for? It's trivia. Because I like to know stuff. So I have to regularly check in with myself and reaffirm, what is the value of this? What can this knowledge do for you in your evolution, progress, spiritual progress, and and growth? And if there's no answer for that, then I can't spend a lot of time with it. Don't get me wrong. I'm a baseball fan. I'm a tennis fan. And I like the stats and I like some of that stuff. I like to know who the players, that's entertainment. That's medicine. It's one of the ways you cope with the material world, being so dross and dull and shallow, is by finding the few things in it that you can at least attach to that are somewhat interesting and keep you from wanting to just lose your mind to pass the time. Baseball and tennis does that for me. But again, the knowledge and my trivia knowledge on that is limited because I'm not going to obsess over it. And listen, I know sports people that we see them on TV. These guys can cite you stats and statistics and facts from hundreds of years ago. And I got some too, but there's a limit to it. It's just stuff that's there. I'm not spending too much time with it anymore. I'm encouraging you to always ask what the value is. And as I'm studying the process of the transmigration of the soul and the birth process, what's the value? What do I need to know? All these miraculous details, as Ori was just helping to point out, of the birthing process, the natal process. What do I care? I'm a man. I'm not being involved with that too much, just peripherally, and I'm not the doctor. What do I need to know it all for? You never know what you're going to find. And in that example, I'm not the doctor and I'm not the one giving birth. So what do I need all these details? I don't need to know them. But I not only enjoy it, expanding my chitta, my consciousness, with what I think is profound knowledge. It deepens my appreciation for the miracles of life, of existence, of God. Same with the transmigration of the soul. Whether you know it, every aspect of it, factually or not, isn't going to change its process. You can't modify or alter that. It works on a cosmic set of rules and laws. Karma-sanskars, physical form, energy body, etc. That's how it functions. But the same with quantum physics and medical knowledge. While I'm not trying to become a doctor or a physical scientist, it deepens my appreciation for all of the existence, for God's miracles. Ultimately, it's going to sound kind of corny and cliche, and I'm probably going to get choked up as I say it. I shit you not, as I study quantum physics, I am sometimes in tears. I am so blown away by the miracles, the beautiful, gorgeous science of creation on a scientific, mundane level, that I am just overwhelmed with the being impressed by God's power and beauty and knowledge. Look, God can just snap his fingers and make stuff, make it happen. Yog Maya, the power of miracles, just make the impossible possible. Part the Red Sea, create human life, whatever it may be. God thinks And it happens. That's just it. The God power soon is a need to abide by rules, scientific laws, and processes, big bangs and singularities to create a universe, black holes to contract them and condense them to create other singularities. And my appreciation, my spiritual connection with this is because he doesn't have to, but he does. It's so fucking beautiful. It's so inspiring. It reminds me how small and tiny I am as a person. Quantum physics blows my mind. To think of an infinite multiverse that is functioning and operating whether I'm aware of it or not. I sit out every morning with my morning coffee on my little back porch here. And I have this beautiful view of the sky above me. And lately it's been dark when I get up in the morning. And yesterday, it's a very clear morning, and I'm looking around, seeing the stars. I'm wondering which constellations are there. And I got my little app on my phone that if I want, I can go check them all and just have a little fun for that. But usually I sit with my coffee nice and quiet, just have some peace and quiet before I do my first morning meditation. And when I looked up, sure enough, saw a shooting star. And I know from being involved with astronomy and those kind of things what it truly is. It's not actually a star, that it is a meteor. And this one was kind of like, it lasted a full second, which is, pretty cool. And I was like, that's kind of cool. I mean, here I am sitting out there with my morning coffee. When I happened to look up, that's when I saw that. What are the odds of that? Well, pretty good, I guess. It happens. So I was wondering about what are the odds of that? So I'm looking up at the sky pretty often, which actually many mornings I don't. Matter of fact, so I saw that, I realized, I'm like, when was the last time you looked up at the sky during morning coffee? I'm like, you know what? I don't remember doing it recently. Probably did, but I just didn't register it. And as I'm thinking this, I saw another one. And this one was kind of like a big cloudy. It wasn't just like a little shooting star kind of thing. It was actually this little like streak of white smoke kind of thing, real fast. And it was kind of cool. And I'm like, two in one sitting. So since then, of course, I'm looking up every morning as I have my morning coffee. I can't stop. And I'm not looking for more so much. I'm actually more fascinated by the fact that it's not that common. If I was seeing them every time, I'd be like, oh, okay, it was no big deal. But the fact that I've not seen one since the last few days, I'm like, you know what? That is really special. Of all the times I haven't looked at the sky, I looked at that precise moment, that particular spot of the sky, and saw that. Is it just for me? Of course not. That celestial piece of rock had its time. It was time for it to end its life and burn away in the atmosphere. And I just happened to witness it. So it's not for me. I'm not a narcissist that thinks that it was just cosmically arranged just for me to see. Who knows who else could have seen it? But again, the miracle that I happened to look when I did. Where did that thought come from? What was the inception of that thought that caused me to look up at that moment? And maybe there was 30 other people somewhere in the North American hemisphere that saw it too. It caused them to do it at the same time. And again, what it causes for me is a chain reaction. That I get to have a moment to just appreciate the beauty and gorgeousness, creation, the complicated systems that is arranged by divine and spiritual powers that facilitate all these events here on our stupid earth. The microcosm and the macrocosm. The macrocosm is the celestial space above me is doing these activities and events. The microcosm is this stupid little human is just feeling exalted by it. Right? This common event. This is our opportunity. So the value, as I researched and studied, which I could not resist. I mean, as I started to find out more about chakra body and energy body and soul transmigration, etc., all these areas have fascinated me since I was a child. The more I found out, the more I wanted to know. I mean, again, I'm a junkie for them. I just cannot get enough. And again, making sure that I know what the value is so that I don't obsess over things that don't take me anywhere. It's both. There is emotional, you could say, satisfaction from it as I get to experience a personal feeling of joy, appreciation, and honor for the God power, for divinity, for all of that stuff that makes all those things come together and happen. And also, if there is a way to apply this knowledge for my own evolution of my soul and consciousness, well, then I have access to it. Again, I'm fully aware that my baseball trivia is going to be here today, gone tomorrow. My baseball memorabilia, I've got a rookie card from Adrian Beltre that's worth some good money. Listen, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. Very few people know who he is. He's going to be a Hall of Famer, and very few people are ever going to know who he is in the long run. The fact that I saw Sean Green's bat when he hit 4 home runs in one game, I saw that when the Baseball Hall of Fame took a tour to the California coast. For me, it was huge. It was cool. Is there any value in it? No. His record was beat this week, as a matter of fact, last week. No, who's tied. Shohei Ohtani, I'm not going to go into all this, I'm going to get lost in this stuff. Shohei Ohtani, this phenomenal new player for the Dodgers, just matched it. Pretty impressive. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. He not matched 4 homers in one game. He matched, Sean Green had 49 homers in one season. Was it 49? Yeah. And for the Dodgers. And so anyway, Shohei got 50. Anyway, I'm not going to go down that path. My point is, again, you see the value versus the distraction. I could depart from this intellectual, philosophical, spiritual conversation and get lost in this trivia that if you're tuning into this, like, well, I didn't come here for that. I don't give a shit about maybe somebody else like, oh, cool, I didn't come here for this, but I love that. I'm a baseball trivia guy. I've got to stay on track. We get to differentiate and ask ourselves what the value is. So certainly, as I'm studying the transmigration of the soul, the formation and the process of the causal body, chitta body, physical body, energy body, the entry of the atman into the physical realm. What good does this do me? How can I use this knowledge? It's about spiritual health, wellness, let's say. Let's face it. Physical health, maintaining your body, becomes easier and more improved with knowledge. When you do the research to study how your body works, not everybody's body, but how yours particularly works. And as I point out in the Ayurvedic talk, that like lentils make me fat. I love them, but I can't eat them a lot because they make me fat. Other starches and things don't, but those things do. So that's me. Lentils are healthy. Go look at any nutritional tablet, you're going to see the lentils and rice and all those things are very healthy. My dosha, my pitta dosha, does not agree with that. So that's my customized way of dealing with it. So the knowledge has that power that I can customize and shape my physical wellness and health based on knowing who and what I am, along with the macrocosmic knowledge of it. to be able to customize. My little butt here. Looks like you're done talking. So, can you hear me? Okay, I don't know if there was some kind of little blurb there. Anyway, so I'm not trying to become a nutritionist or a physical fitness trainer, but I've had to work with a lot of people as a counselor and self-improvement specialist, help people feel good about themselves, get in shape, preserve their health and their wellness. Same thing with spirituality. If I have access to the right knowledge and can apply it the right way, well, then I can be better than before. I can make progress. I can evolve, which is my goal. As mentioned before, it's getting to be a longer breadth of time. I have not even had a mild cold, and it's got to be going on 20 years now. I don't remember. I have some basic idea that it was around the time that I went to Cancun, which is in 2010. This is evidence. And again, I'm not some kind of health nut at all. Quite not. I mean, I just live what I think properly. Not sterile, not hermetically sealed. I just live a sensible life and I don't get sick. So in this sense, the general knowledge, the specific knowledge, who and what you are and how things work can help you preserve, maintain, and sustain your physical, energy, and consciousness and spiritual wellness, health, when applied properly. By knowing the process of the transmigration of the soul puts me in two beneficial positions. One, by living my life with this knowledge, again, I can have lifestyles. I can live a sattvic life that helps me live more sensibly, better diet, better rest. And again, I'm pretty healthy. I not only don't get sick, I mean, I just I rest well, exercise well. I just don't really have, I'm 58 and I just don't have any issues really. Nothing uncommon, that's for sure. And so it helps me live a life that automatically benefits my afterlife, my resurrection, my reincarnation, my transmigration process. Automatically benefits that because I just have less things holding me down or bogging me through, binding me. Understanding the transmigration of the soul helps me prepare. As we recently gave the class on the books of the dead, and I was explaining that these books are divine to provide the knowledge of what to expect, to prepare you so that you don't freak out during the death experience, because it could be freaky and strange. People would just snap. It prepares you to know what to expect for the transmigration process so that you don't get lost in the system and process of it, and you can have direction and be an integral part of the process of the transmigration. You can make choices while on the other side. You can get involved in the process. As I mentioned within the Books of the Dead conversation, which was a lot about transmigration of the soul. It's not like you get to choose whatever you want when you die, where you go and how you're going to go and what you're going to reincarnate as or whatever it's going to be. You don't have an infinite set of choices. You have what's on the menu. When you go to a restaurant, when you go to a Chinese restaurant, you can't order a pizza When you go to a restaurant, pizza restaurant, you can't order Chinese food. You can order what they have on the menu. But you can order anything on the menu. In a similar way, the way you're living your life and the knowledge you have increases your menu options. It's kind of like In and Out. In and Out has, and I'm not a meat eater anymore, but haven't been for a long time, but I love In and Out because they have great grilled cheese. It's not on the menu. Neither is their triple or many of the other items. The hidden, what they call the secret menu of In and Out. They have 5 or 6 or 10 items that are on the secret menu. That literally, if you just walk up and ask for it, they're not on the menu board at all, but you can get them if you just know how to ask for them. I learned many of these, because my son used to work there when he was a kid. The secret menu at In and Out. You can Google it, and it'll come with all kinds of cool shit. Pretty fun stuff. So, in this sense, when you gain understanding and knowledge of the transmigration of the soul, you have access to the hidden menu. The secret menu. If you know what's available, then you can order from that menu. You can prepare for it. You can make different choices. This is what the books of the dead and all spiritual knowledge is geared towards, to help you evolve, grow, and make better choices before, during, and after death. You still have to choose what's on the menu. Again, you can't create a whole new menu. Your karmas, your sanskars, your chitta, your acquired knowledge and life experiences in multiple lifetimes, et cetera, are what create your options. But it's beneficial if you know what those options are, who you were, who you've been. It can be integral to who you can become. So again, on one level, it's a fascinating and lovely process to understand. To have access to this profound knowledge and insights is just kind of mind-blowing. Animals can't do it. Bugs can't do it. Plants can't do it. It takes an intellect and a complicated mind to be able to understand complicated knowledge, spiritual contexts and concepts. And it takes a curiosity. All animals can be curious, but very few of them can truly satisfy the curiosity they have. We can. I encourage all of you to get involved with that. Use your mind, develop your mind. It's like a muscle. So every time you use it, you're making it stronger. You're working it out. You're exercising it. What you're going to use it on and how you're going to use it. Again, when you go to the gym, a good trainer doesn't just tell you to lift weights. I learned how to work out from guys who went to prison. I wasn't in prison myself. A lot of my friends had been in and out of prison. So they were like, help me refine my workout. And I was like, I like, I don't want to be in prison, but I'd rather look like a guy that had prison muscles than gym muscles. Gym guys look all sculpted and nice. Prison guys look strong and like scary, right? And I kind of like that look a little better, more about power. And sure enough, my good friend Rick from my first memoir and a couple of my other friends, we would work out together. And they'd be like, no. They would like, no, like this, like that. They would spot me and do certain things that made my workout very different than what you would learn in a gym. And I love it. They tell me about form. Tell me about focus. Any good gym trainer teaches you these aspects. But again, it was a different set compared to what I would get at a gym. Prison guys are looking for a completely different collection of things, man. They got to survive. They got to intimidate, you know? So anyway, so I found it fascinating. So again, the knowledge helps us develop form, focus, the right technique to be able to develop our physical, energy, causal, and soul body. Therefore, it's not trivial at all. This enthusiasm, excitement that we might get for any piece of knowledge is, especially when it comes to spiritual knowledge, let me just say that when it comes to spiritual knowledge, is our soul encouraging us to get more. It wants to be fed spiritual things, not baseball trivia. My stupid human mundane consciousness wants that, which is fine. My soul wants spiritual knowledge. My mundane physical mind enjoys and is entertained by and very satisfied with baseball trivia knowledge and watching the game, which I'm hoping to watch today at 5 o'clock. Dodgers begin postseason today. I'm looking forward to it. But it does not satisfy my soul. Spiritual concepts and even quantum physics, because I'm studying quantum physics with a spiritual intent. I'm seeing the God in it. It's satisfying my soul, which has a different octave, depth, feeling altogether. This is the encouragement. Again, your material mind is going to encourage you to pursue material things by giving you some sense of endearment, attachment, excitement. Oh, baseball, trivia, whatever. Shallow entertainments, whatever. I like that. I want more. It's going to give you this sense of things that you want. And yet it's always going to also eventually run out. I got to pace myself when it comes to the postseason even. I can't watch every game because then I won't be able to really appreciate and enjoy the ones that mean the most to me. So I'm not going to watch all the games. I'm going to watch the Dodger ones. Okay. Now, if they lose and they'll go to the World Series, well, then I'll still watch whoever goes because I love the postseason. I love the whole season. But during the season, I don't watch other teams because otherwise I'll burn out. And I want to have the enthusiasm to enjoy the ones that mean something to me and are more exciting. So that I don't want to oversaturate. Spiritual knowledge and involvement doesn't have this quality. It doesn't wane. It doesn't diminish. Everything in the mature world becomes complacent. That's its nature. Gets old, gets boring, gets dull, whatever. I'm done with that. That's its nature. It lives, it peaks, it dies. Only the divine phenomena is immune to this. No matter how much you get of it, you just want more. It's a bizarre phenomenon. I mean, even when I see that one of my streaming services is offering some Halloween stuff, and one of them was the Peanuts Halloween show, and I was like, "Oh man, I love that when I was a kid. That's going to be cute. I'm probably going to watch it." And I remember watching it several years ago. I remember being a child, and I just absolutely loved all that kind of stuff, you know. And I watched it all. I was like, "Huh, this wasn't as good as I remember it. It wasn't as cute as I thought it was like an hour long. It went by like that. I guess when I was a 5-year-old. And half an hour felt like an hour. Truly. Like when I was an adult and I watched, I'm like, I can't believe this. That was so short. How'd that happen? Why don't it just be like a big long thing? 5-year-old time concept, you know? It was bizarre. Like I was convinced it was like an hour. I was like, really, it's only a half hour? And so I probably will enjoy and watch it or something like that. But I can tell you within 10, 15 minutes, I'll probably be my mind will be wandering to other things. I won't mind going to the kitchen and getting something without pausing it. I just won't be as attached. And yet, when I watch true authentic spiritual things, for example, this guy, my guru, giving a video discourse, I can watch the same speech again, and I have. I've watched probably all of them a dozen times, read the books. I never get tired of them. It's never if I'm going to read, it's going to be which one. And I can't decide because even though I've read them all, I don't know, 5, 6 times now or more, I just love them and I get something new out of it. And again, this is the difference between the material phenomena and the divine phenomena, true spiritual phenomena. No matter how many times you interact with it, it's exponentially increasing. It expands upon itself. And material things don't. So that's one of the indications. That enthusiasm. This is God's grace to give you the impetus, the spiritual desire, curiosity to seek more. And then when you do interact with it, it not only satisfies you, but also makes you want more. Most worldly things never satisfy you. They do for a moment, but that's it. And you eventually realize, you know what? I'm not going to keep going back there. Like it ends up being a disappointment, most of it. Spiritual phenomena is different. It completely satisfies and continues to expand upon itself and give more every time. This spiritual development at its best, we develop our spirituality with just interacting with it. Satsang, spiritual association. Sat, spiritual, sang, association. By simply involving ourselves with it. We grow, we improve, we become more resilient, stronger. Again, this is the beauty of it. I mean, it's kind of like the antithesis of how money is. Money is got a similar feature in its own way, material luxury and attainment. It's addicting in a way too. When you get it, you want more because you can do more with it. The more you get, the more you can have access to. That's true. And yet, it's really stressful. I mean, oh my God, every dollar you are going after comes with $10 of stress. Every ounce of satisfaction it gives requires a pound of stress and work to experience it. And in this sense, again, there's a big division between the material and the spiritual. The spiritual, very early on, becomes easy to attain more of, and you're just as motivated to want more, to be greedy with it, and yet it doesn't come with all that stress. I'm not misleading you and telling you that indeed, in the beginning, to find time to meditate, to become spiritual, to attain or involve yourself in spiritual projects or rituals or ceremonies, or whatever you might do. Yes, it can be stressful in the beginning. Once you settle into it, I'm not stressed about those things anymore. I don't, it's just natural, it's routine. Indeed, most things are like this, but again, the big material things, not at all. I don't care if you're Bill Gates. I don't care if you're Jeff Bezos. Bottom line is the stress never ends. And it comes with a whole new brand of it all the time. Again, I'm going to bounce around. I'm not saying that spiritual development Doesn't have its own brand of this as well. Indeed, as I develop spiritually, I want more and I need more. And it does test you. Clearly, as you can see in my story and in my book. One of the themes that I'm sharing is that if I seem to be being singled out with a bizarre set of circumstances and experiences, if this is true, which thus far, unanimously, this is agreed upon with the people that read it, the only conclusion that I can make is this is because I am ready for more. Say God only gives you what you can handle. And again, as you evolve and develop and can handle more, you're going to get more. And that is a blessing. But it's also going to reframe, reshape, bend, even break your existing parameters. Your model of the world, your model of yourself is going to have to adapt, shift, change, break. In my case, many of it had to be shattered to get to another level. I have a choice during the trials and tribulations of my spiritual journey, my karmic experiences, etc. I can become bitter and justifiably, hey man, why are you picking on me? What the fuck? Like, this is pretty obvious now. That's one choice. The other choice is, wow, you must think a lot of it. You must really think something of me that I don't see for myself, because you're giving me such extraordinary circumstances that I could never pick that. I could never decide that. So it makes me want to try harder to serve God, to be able to endure and experience these things as gracefully as I can, with affection and admiration rather than scorn. It crosses my mind. Like, hey, why me, man? What the fuck? You know, for sure. When you've been hit in the face by a truck and you're living a good life a moment before, and everything was just pretty okay, and it went to completely tragic in an instant, I think it's justifiably to be like, whoa, man, what the hell? What did I do? And those things did and do cross my mind. But again, I choose to follow that and add into that. It's for my own good, my own progress, my own evolution, my own development. I can either disregard it and just take it as it is, or I can try to extract something profound and beautiful from it, try to grow from it. This is our choice in our development. Again, this image, I mean, I get off on this. I love it. I can't believe when I look at that I had anything to do with creating that book cover. Looking back, it was so stressful working with the artist, Christine, to develop it. We were like at each other's throats at times over the course of several weeks. And now all I see is how fucking beautiful and perfect it is. I love it. It's nothing to do with me. I'm just the instrument. And that's what it is. Yantra, instrument, literally means instrument. To be able to apply these things and honor and appreciate and organize and make sense of the knowledge. And again, what you have here in this example is a body of knowledge. The numbers, the design, the pattern, everything about it is done by a formula. That's true to the yantra formula than tantric yoga. And yet when it's done, all that intellect and all that science and all that method just becomes this beautiful image, just becomes something to look at. I don't mind my cover, poking him in the eye. The macro and the micro. All the details manifest into one big thing. Let's keep this in mind. Any questions, any comments? Lori, you still there? Oh, she was a minute ago. Well, to be continued. Again, the beautiful thing is that it doesn't really matter which topic we choose. We're always talking about the same thing, aren't we? You know? You ever notice that? Because it all goes to one place. So carry on. Jai Shri Radhe, glory to the essence of divine love. Keep in mind that our soul is a fraction, a fragment, a piece of the divine soul. We have Atman, we are soul, and then there's that's the Jivatman, the soul, and then there is the Mahatman. Mahatma is what comes from that. The supreme soul, the God soul. We are fractions of that. Let's not forget that.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome. See you another time.